Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cannabis Equity Minutes with Cynthia Mompoint on this beautiful Tuesday evening, May 25th, 2021. And we're going to kick it off talking about data, just giving an update as to where we are in Massachusetts on the data and looking at where we are, what needs to happen, and through the lens of equity, grounding the conversation in equity. Hence the reason we call it Cannabis Equity Minutes, and that's what our update is focused on and what things people can be doing, looking for to ensure that the outcomes match the intention behind a lot of the rhetoric for social equity that we hear, not just in Massachusetts, but across the country. So let's dive right into our numbers, looking at where we are, what's progressed. So we have in the state of Massachusetts now 243 businesses that are operational. That means over the weekend we had 4 more businesses that were granted the green light from the Cannabis Control Commission to commence operations. And that includes all types of licenses, not just retailers. So I think we have about 146 retailers. But so when I give the number 243 businesses that have been licensed to commence operation, I'm talking about cultivators, we're talking about product manufacturers, retailers, we're talking about micro businesses, testing labs. So any of the businesses in the recreational space that requires a license. That's what this number reflects. Of those 4 who began, who were authorized to commence operations, all of them were general applicants. We did not see any equity applicants, any equity provisional license holders reach this stage of the gauntlet. And I highlight that for a reason, because when we look at what's happening in the industry and we're saying we want to see equitable businesses, and we hear about businesses, we hear the Cannabis Control Commission give an update. Their last update, they said that they had 66 applications from economic empowerment certificate holders, and then another 99 applications from social equity program participants. And it gives the illusion that, wow, okay, we have 165 equity participants in the pipeline to get licenses. What that doesn't tell you is but then you have to think about the fact that we have that's 165, but then there are only 4 equity program license holders that are operational and 2 social equity program participants that are operational. And I highlight this in the context of right now we have our Joint Cannabis Control Committee in the legislature having conversations around host community agreements. And I bring this up because to achieve equity, it's not just going to be a one-shot deal, right? If we want to see equity, we need to hold every stakeholder accountable for their role. So here it is, we have 165 equity program participants that achieved the gauntlet of securing a host community agreement. They were able to secure a facility, they were able to secure a host community agreement and submit their application to the Cannabis Control Commission for review. But when we look at how many have final licenses, we're talking about 6 in comparison to 165. And the process in Massachusetts, first, there's the step of getting the provisional license. So those 165 applications, they're up for review for their provisional license. And the Cannabis Control Commission likes to highlight the fact that how many provisional licenses that they've issued to licensees to demonstrate progress. But then there is the next step, which is getting to the final license. So here it is. And final license means we're seeing equity in operation, right? And the supports that are in place, are they going to ensure the outcome where we're going to see equitable participation with license holders being able to operate? It's great to say that you hold a license in your hand. It's even better to say that you're able to open up your business. And so when we're looking at the decisions that the Cannabis Control Commission, the decisions that they're making, we have to look at the outcome, not just, and the data tells a story, right? We're tracking with the story. Here it is, we see the focus on who are getting licenses, how many applications are being submitted. We compare that to when you look at it in the big scope of the picture. That's just one slice of the pie. When we look at it in terms of the outcome, I want to go into a business. I want to support a business that's owned by an equity program participant, whether they're economic empowerment or social equity. The options are few. There are 6 businesses out there. The other piece of detail that isn't necessarily captured clearly, again, when we talk about, we have some general applicants who had to come through the pipeline, not through the equity program, but just through hard sweat labor, just as, without being able to get technical assistance through the CCC's economic social equity program, and without getting the priority period, because those are the 2 key benefits that you get right from the state. And so we have some general applicants that did not get that priority review benefit, but they are able to open up, and the data is not showing this to us, which is why we're asking the Cannabis Control Commission to release the data around registered agents to show who exactly are we talking about, who's in our industry at the ownership level, who's in our industry in the staff, the businesses, because if we see businesses working towards diversity, we're going to see this in the data, right? And we want the registered agent data to show that. We see businesses having diverse board of directors, diverse leadership boards. We want to see that information. And the only way we're going to see that information is if the Cannabis Control Commission chooses to report out on it. And if that information is reported out to the public, then there is more of accountability to businesses to see what it is that they're doing. So if we want to see equity happening from a from the commission standpoint, we want to see what the decisions the Cannabis Control Commission is making to support applicants to become operational, not just to get a license, or not just to say that, hey, we've opened up a program and we're providing technical assistance. Because when we look at it, we have 500 applicants coming through the pipeline of their equity program, whether it's the 123 economic empowerment certificate holders, or now we're at about 470 social equity program participants. We see that, and then we compare it to the number of licenses, which does not necessarily, for every license, 165 applications. 165 applications does not equate to 165 participants. Those 165 licenses reflect approximately, I believe the CCC did release the data on this. I'm going to have to come back and give the exact number, but it's around 50, 60 entities, right? Because every entity you can have you can be pursuing more than one license. If you're pursuing a vertical integration, that's 3 licenses right there. If you're pursuing more than one retail location, that's multiple licenses right there. So when we talk about 165 applications, we're not necessarily even tapping into 165 equity program participants. And when we look at what the Cannabis Control Commission is putting out, the narrative that they're pushing, we have to ask ourselves, do they really want to see equity happen? And some folks may want to say, well, we're waiting on when legalization happens at the federal level, we're going to see banking become an option. And so that's going to help address that gap that we see between provisional licenses and those that are operational, because capital tends to be the major reason for that, right? The capital necessary to outfit out the facility now to meet the regulations, to meet the local requirements and the state requirements to become operational. And what we see, though, just to say that banking option is going to be available is not going to address the systemic issues that we have, regardless of the industry. So we open up the banking industry to cannabis. Traditionally, in other sectors, business sectors, regardless of the industry, Black businesses are twice as likely as their white counterparts to be denied business loans. And this is coming from the Center for Responsible Lending. This is data right out of the Center for Responsible Lending. And this is across the board in other industries. So to think that it would be any different in cannabis is a fallacy, which is why it's important that we look at the Cannabis Control Commission, the key role that they have to supporting equity program participants from becoming not just a participant in a program, not just a certificate holder, but to actually being an operational business. They have some vehicles there, in addition to some of the decision making that they have in their authority. One of the key ones being these positive impact plans, providing structure to the positive impact plans, because then they can have a resource, they can have a means to support equity businesses in opening up. So what does that mean? If you want to know if a local business is positively impacting the community, look at their positive impact plans. Look at the businesses that they are supporting. And there's enough, I guess the phrase is, there's enough food on the table, there's enough food out there to eat. One thing that's unique about Massachusetts is that we are highly regulated. It isn't a free-for-all, let's say like at Oklahoma, where you have 7,000 licenses that have been issued. Not at all. So for there to be some type of fear that to state that we want to see operational businesses supporting equity businesses to enter into this industry, as if that competition would impact and eat at their market share. I think that's a fallacy, considering the way this market is regulated here in the state. And we're not just talking about retail licenses, we're talking about all types of licenses, and the supply. We aren't even able to meet the demand that we have in the state, both on the testing capacity, the cultivation capacity, products that are available. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and a lot of opportunity for equity. What the Cannabis Control Commission has selected to not do is provide accountability in the form of structure for these positive impact plans. And if they were to do so, and were to require that these operational businesses, especially some of these larger entities that have the capacity to support an equity program participant, any type of equity program participant in their efforts to open up a license, open up a business, not just secure a license, not just get information on how to secure a license, but to actually get to the point of operation. One, we would move the needle when we're talking about the data, and it's no longer all of the barriers of entry are then able to be addressed through the supports that are provided in terms of going through the application process, but then also the supports in terms of securing funding, so that when you are in that gray space of trying to get from securing your provisional license to now becoming operational, and you're dealing with the capital issues, you have an experienced operator providing the guidance, providing potentially providing resources directly, financial resources directly to your business, to the equity business, so that they can open up. And that's the goal, right? For equitable participation. And so this is how everyone can play their role, play their part. Now let's take a shift focus and look a little bit more closely at the businesses. I think there's been quite a bit of conversation over the last several years about various businesses entering into Massachusetts market, and certain businesses, so local businesses, getting flack for their desire to expand, as if that was impeding upon equity program participants' ability to expand without people actually looking at the outcomes of the certain actions that businesses were taking. So what do I mean? When you look at a positive impact plan and we have out-of-state operators come in and say that they're going to donate, $5,000 to a local charity, while in looking at that data point in isolation, that sounds great. Yes, we want to see a business make that type of donation to the community. But when we look at it through the lens of equity in cannabis, is that enough? Is that going to have an impact, positively impact our community in a way that we can say, hey, look at Massachusetts is doing something in the space of equity when it comes to our cannabis industry? Absolutely not. It's not enough to say that when you are talking about a business that's generating millions of dollars of revenue from the Massachusetts market, and they're not holding their weight in terms of positively impacting the community. And so should the Cannabis Control Commission decide to put a structure to the expectation around how businesses are positively impacting the community, similar to they haven't done it even in the space of diversity, but they do call it out a little bit more with diversity. So particularly when they look at the numbers that businesses say they're going to look to hire for women staff members, the commission will go back and say, you know, your 10% women staff is not enough. Your 10% minority staff is not enough. You need to, and this is an example of holding businesses more accountable for their diversity plans. We need to see some type of structure and commitment to holding businesses accountable to not only ensuring that their positive impact plan is reaching the targeted populations, the targeted cohorts, as the commission calls them in their equity guidance, but ensuring that they're reaching them in a meaningful way and holding businesses accountable in a structured way. Micro businesses, small businesses that are coming in are actually committing to doing more than some of these multi-state operators. We have social equity businesses coming in and committing to donating $30,000 to support local endeavors to pursue cannabis businesses, meaning to support other equity program participants, you know, in their pursuits. And so if a small local business can do that, we need to ensure that there's some type of structure and accountability. That's the call to action. Structure and accountability around the positive impact plan. Because if that's put in place, we are going to actually see the needle move on the outcome side, not just to look not just on the provisional space, or not just to say, hey, look, we have folks submitting applications. Our social equity program technical assistance is providing the guidance and the supports for people to submit their application. Well, let's truth be told, you can go through the process of securing a location, having your community meeting, securing a host community agreement, and all of these efforts are taxing both time and financially. Submit your application to the Cannabis Control Commission, and during that time frame, depending on the type of lease agreement that you have, the type of control that you have on your property, you could potentially lose that. And then you are technically back at square one. You have a provisional license, you have a host community agreement, but that host community agreement was tied to a specific property, and now you need to renegotiate all of that because you did not have the capital to get to the final destination, i.e. to get to the point of operation. And so we have to look at what supports are there. To sit back and tell equity program participants, well, hold out, wait, let's see if the legislature will push the social equity fund this time around. I think that's a slap in the face of equity. That's not prioritizing equity in any way, shape, or form. If you want to prioritize equity, we need to prioritize it across the board. I think when we see the outcomes, that's going to tell you if equity has been prioritized or not. And there's certain basic actions that can be taken. So we've highlighted a couple, right? We highlighted the fact that the Cannabis Control Commission can hold businesses accountable, put a structure in place, and a structure that is aligned to the capacity that these businesses can have, not just to simply say, hey, these are the cohorts we want you to target. That's step one. Step two is now putting something in place that's going to say, not only should you be targeting these specific cohorts, but when you target them, this is the type of support we need to see. For example, one of the cohorts that the commission highlights is those who are seeking reentry into the industry. Well, there's a difference between positively impacting an individual seeking reentry into the industry by saying that, hey, you're going to host various seminars, people can come to and learn about the industry, versus stating that you are going to commit to not only hiring those who are seeking reentry into the industry, but you're also going to support them in providing resources, providing training so that they can progress in the industry, whether progression means being able to achieve higher positions, managerial status, whether progress means being able to provide them additional supports so that reentry is not just getting the job, but providing all the wraparound support that they need to be successful at that job. And for the same level, that same type of support for an individual, that's what we're talking about when we're looking at the cohort of individuals in the equity program looking to become operational, looking to become business owners in this space. To say that you've provided courses, which the second cohort for the social equity program just wrapped up. They just finished up their classes. So now the Cannabis Control Commission will say, hey, we've pushed through 470 program participants through our program, providing them technical assistance. And, this evening, we're not going to go into the type of technical assistance or the quality of that. What we're going to look at is, what does the data tell us? After 470 people have gone through the program, how many are able to secure a license? How many are able to, more importantly, open up and become operational? And again, this is data that the Cannabis Control Commission needs to put out. And until the Cannabis Control Commission puts out their data around the social equity program, particularly the second cohort, I'm going to continue to lump those numbers to 470, as all of those are potential business owners. Now, when the Cannabis Control Commission actually puts out their data, they can disaggregate and tell us who constitute this the cohort, particularly the second cohort of equity program participants, because not all of them are pursuing the entrepreneurial track. There are some who, as I shared, are pursuing the reentry program track. There are others that are pursuing the managerial track. And then there are others who are looking to receive technical assistance in pursuit of ancillary businesses that would support cannabis business operators. And until the Cannabis Control Commission puts out that data, we don't know what the numbers are. What we do know, based on the first cohort, was that the commission was surprised to see how many individuals are interested in pursuing business ownership in this space. They were shockingly surprised that, I think for the first social equity cohort, it was upward between 60 and 70% of the program participants, 60 to 70% of the program participants were seeking the entrepreneurial track. And to see if that's the same data point for the second cohort, then we really need to evaluate how the commission is supporting individuals from getting from that point to the point of operation. And these are some of the steps that they can take place. So switching gears back to businesses, right? We have businesses that are operational. We want to find out, where are these positive impact plans? What are they doing? Now, in certain areas, in the past, I've shared data around the positive impact plans, because every month when the commission is reviewing the provisional licenses, they are looking at the positive impact plan proposals that businesses put forth. And last week, in our last session, we talked about the need for the commission to not even review applications if their positive impact plan is not aligned with the guidance that they've already put, meaning if they're not targeting the cohorts that they should be targeting. And then once the commission puts in place a structure, if the positive impact plan is not aligned to the structure, then that application should not be reviewed for their provisional license. I tell you, this type of accountability, this type of expectation, you put this out, the industry is going to respond. People are only going to do what they have to do to get their businesses operational. So if we want to see equity, the Cannabis Control Commission puts that type of expectation. Guess what? Businesses are going to do what they need to do to meet that expectation. And we're going to see the numbers move in terms of the outcome on who's operational. And not just at the provisional level, right? Now that when we look at what these businesses submit to the commission for their positive, how they positively impacted when it's time for renewal, that information has not been made public. So we see the commission review renewal applications monthly for whatever business. After a year, they're up for renewal, their license is up for renewal. What we do not see is any type of information as to how the commission evaluated that application for renewal. They simply just state if the chair asks if there were any licensees that there were questions around or that there were any conditions. And if a commissioner had a concern about any aspect of the renewal license, then they expressed that concern. And so a condition was placed for that renewal licensee to meet that condition, and they get their renewal. One thing that Commissioner Camargo did say, Commissioner Camargo being the one that sits in the social justice seat for the commission now, one thing she did say is that she is taking an equity lens to the renewals. And so it would be great for us to see what that lens looked like and what are some of the things that she's seeing, both on the positive side, in addition to what she did demonstrate with the last meeting was that there were some businesses that she asked for them to submit additional information around what they did over the past year to positively impact the community in alignment with the equity guidance and the equitable participation mandate that the state has. Now, that type of action, we need to see more of that, because that type of action is going to then say to the businesses that are operational, oh, we need to do something about how we're positively impacting communities. We can't just sit there and say, hey, we're going to have a volunteer day and clean up the neighborhood in a disproportionately impacted area and say that we've done our fair share for supporting the community. Neighborhood cleanups, volunteer cleanups, coordinating that, excellent ideas, things that we do need to see. However, this is, again, going back to where the structure is needed. So when we go to these businesses, right, I'm thinking of a couple of businesses that have said in their positive impact plan, they're looking to support social equity program participants or economic empowerment certificate holders open up their business. They're looking to support them go through the process and open up. And so where is that data? Where's that information to see, are these businesses doing that? And it's important for the commission to put this out, because last year when they were approving their final regulations, one of the things that they highlighted was putting together, I think they called it leadership awards, if you will, or leadership tags. And these were ways that they would flag businesses that were demonstrating leadership in certain capacities. And one of those was in the area of social justice and supporting equity. And so here it is. If we want to put this information and highlight what the businesses are doing, let's do that across the board. If you go to the commission's website right now, they have a license tracker. They have various sections on their website. But if you go to, they have a license tracker, which shows which businesses that are operational right now, and which ones are of those operational businesses, which ones are economic empowerment, those are labeled EEA, which ones are social equity participants, those are labeled SEP, and which ones are disadvantaged business owners, and those are labeled DBE. And so when I give you these data points, it's right on the Cannabis Control Commission's website, license tracker. The other piece of information that they put out there. If you are an applicant looking to put your application together, they highlight positive impact plans. And I guess this is an effort to start to bring some attention to businesses that are at least putting out information about how they plan to positively impact the industry and the communities that they're working and serving. And they've highlighted 5 positive impact plans. Now, to say that you only have 5 out of 243 businesses that are operational, and there are only 5 positive impact plans that you can look to as a source of guidance or as a source of exemplary. And when you read them, I mean, they're pretty much just doing what the equity guidance is saying. It's not necessarily that these businesses are going above and beyond an expectation. I think it's just a testament to the fact that the bar is set so low for positive impact plans that they were only able to highlight 5. However, put the structure in place, and then we won the bar that sets the bar higher for bare minimum, and then 2, it sets the bar even higher for what constitutes a model positive impact plan, what constitutes exemplary or leadership in this area of social justice, and not just looking at the positive impact plan, but looking at the positive impact outcome. And perhaps that's a type of update that can be tied to the renewal when licensees, especially those that are operational, are pursuing their renewal and they're demonstrating to the commission. Perhaps they issue a positive impact outcome, right? And so now it's, well, this is what I've done. These are the number of equity program participants that we've supported in this capacity, whether it's supporting them becoming operational, providing space, providing time in the form of mentorship and support for them as they are pursuing their license, as they are pursuing get operational status, or even after they become operational. And so one of the things that I won't go into tonight, but we're going to talk about it in the future when we talk about equity, it doesn't just stop at getting the license. We've definitely talked about that, and it doesn't just stop at becoming operational. Any business in any industry, they talk about the first 3 to 5 years, businesses tend to flop because of all of the hurdles that a business goes through. And when you talk about highly regulated industry like Massachusetts cannabis industry, the number of changes that a business may go through, the issues that they may face, and the cost to that business, and the opportunity for them to not have to go through that if they are able to work alongside with some of these larger operations and the expectation is that these larger operations work alongside and provide support to some of our equity program participants so that they continue to be successful, so that it doesn't fall at provisional license, or it doesn't fall at being able to open up, but then you're not able to sustain and move forward because you did not have access to the ongoing supports, whether it's professional support, right? Okay, here, what are some of the decisions I need to make around how we maximize our facility, whether it's if you have a product manufacturing facility, right, and you want to maximize what type of equipment you're securing, and what are the latest in the technology or latest things that are in place to meet the requirements that the commission has put out. Especially now, the commission is putting a lot of regulations around certain things on packaging and expectations and all of these things have a cost, right? And that capital can be mitigated for equity program participants if there's an expectation, if there's a structure in place that those businesses that are operating, those who have the expertise, are providing that type of guidance support, and they get a benefit also, right? What is the benefit? They get to turn around and say, hey, this is one example of how we are positively impacting this industry. And this sets an expectation that it goes above and beyond, hosting a seminar, hosting a webinar, that this is something that the commission's already doing. They're providing this type of technical assistance, right? What can we get from businesses that are operational? How do we structure our industry in Massachusetts so that every stakeholder is meeting the requirement and the support to have equitable participation? I see you there, Nova. How you doing, Nova? I see you chiming in. You want to hop on? Definitely want to invite you on. If you want to share, let's see. I think it looks like whatever platform you're on, it's not letting me bring you onto the camera. But yes, one of the chairmen did commend the applicant's PIP, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually talked about it a couple of previous episodes, right around the commission meeting, and in that positive impact plan, they talk about supporting an equity program participant to becoming operational. And it was a positive impact plan submitted by an economic empowerment certificate holder. That was the one that she commended. And then she also commended a renewal, and that renewal that she commended was also another economic empowerment certificate holder. So you're absolutely right in terms of the one that the current commissioner, the positive impact plans that the current commissioner is flagging and highlighting. These are positive impact plans that are really going to get at equity, right? They have committed, at least in writing, to say that they're going to support an equity program participant or more, one or more. I can't remember, this may have been the application that said they were going to do up to 3, but support an equity program participant to becoming operational. And so to see that being flagged as something as exemplary and a model, those are the types of examples we want to continue to hear. It puts the buzz out there, it puts the expectation out there, it just puts the knowledge out there, even because some of these applicants are putting together their packages and submitting to the commission positive impact plans that are not meeting the bare minimum because the expectation is not being communicated fully. And this goes also to our municipalities. The expectation is not being communicated fully on what the municipalities, their role around equity is. And this is coming from not just the commission, but also even from our legislative bodies and our leadership in the state, from the governor down. Right. So these are roles that they can play in terms of the expectations, so that we look at local municipalities, and even if every municipality is doing their own thing, if you will, their own local programming, there is some type of programming in place, and that programming says that there's going to be priority for equity participants. It's not going to go against the state program. It's going to support or enhance the state program, right? And so that doesn't tell the local municipality what to do. It just simply provides a structure, and the local municipality says, okay, now we understand the structure, we'll go ahead and put something together to meet that expectation. And that's simply what we're calling on the commission to do as a regulatory body, in terms of doing their job in regulating the industry. And I always go back to the appeal court case that Mederi versus the city of Salem has currently. And I think the case was in this meeting that I'm specifically talking about was the January meeting. It was either the end of January, beginning of February. And Judge Kafner came on there and said, hey, look, based on the commission's role and responsibility, the 2 areas that they actually can regulate are one of them being the equity provision around that, and then the second one being the host community agreement. But and we see where that has landed us. So we will wrap up our evening tonight on cannabis equity minutes. And again, stay tuned. I did share with you earlier that we're waiting to hear back from the commission on what the delivery regulations are going to be. The expectation is that based on what they said, that they were going to deliver that before the month of May is out. So perhaps you stay tuned, check in on Friday, and they have that update for you. If not, perhaps it'll be next week. And then also we're staying tuned to see what else comes out of the legislative body. With that, I'll put a last plug out there, with the expectation around our legislators and their role. Reach out to your legislators and let them know you want to see the commission hold businesses accountable with a structured positive impact plan. We want to see more effort around that. The Black and Latino Caucus is another entity that can be reached in terms of, because they pushed for equitable participation. So let's not only have this in writing, let's have it in action so that we can see it in outcome. Check back with me on Friday. Thank you for those of you who have joined. And if you're not able to check online, remember we're on several platforms. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then we also have a blog with additional updates. Have a great evening. Where we are in Massachusetts on the data and looking at where we are